The big news today is that the Cleveland Browns have restructured again Deshaun Watson's contract, and that frees up about $35.8 million in cap space for the season. So I'm going to go back through. I did this with Kenny a couple episodes ago, just to rehash real quick the Browns cap situation, because I know it's confusing. The cap, it's still very confusing for me. And if you just listen to the public opinion about the Browns and the salary cap, this team won't be able to field a roster for the next decade. We're going to be taking the field with, 9 guys on each side of the ball. Maybe if we're lucky, we can't sign anybody. No one's coming here. It's the most bizarre thing you've ever seen in the NFL. We won't even have a complete roster. That's not exactly the case. So we've talked about this, but we'll do it again. So the Cleveland Browns have $351 million in total cap allocation. Okay, now that was, before today, the highest in the NFL. The NFL salary cap for 2025 was set at $279.2 million. The Browns rolled over $42 million from last season. So that gave the Browns an adjusted cap of $321. So if you take where they had their cap allocation $351, the adjusted cap of $321, there's some other figures in there, but essentially the Browns before today, were right around $23 million over the salary cap. I've been trying to tell people we're not rolling into free agency next week, $23 million over the cap. We are going to not be big players in free agency, but we're still going to sign people. We still got to put a roster together. And for all the crap that Andrew Berry takes for the Deshaun Watson trade, for a lot of these draft picks not developing over the years, whatever you may want to throw at him, whatever shade you got against Andrew Berry, that's fine. I'll listen to all of it because it's all, there's credit to be had in anything you want to say, except for cap management. He is a great manager of the cap. He understands it better than most. The Browns handle the cap better than most. And what makes a lot of this possible, I'll talk about a little more in a minute, but is having Jimmy Haslam, an owner who's willing to pony up the cash to make this style of cap management feasible. And it works for the Browns. Now, the play on the field, that's a whole other story. But in terms of just the cap and having the players on the roster, the method they're using really does work. So I was talking about how the Browns could save or clear up to around $68 million in cap space simply by they can cut trade after June 1st. These are post-June 1st designations. They could do something with Jack Conklin to save up almost $12 million, or they could restructure him to free up almost $10 million. I would imagine they're going to be restructuring Jack Conklin. A Denzel Ward restructure is around $9 million. They could trade Greg Newsome and save over $13 million toward the cap, which I kind of anticipate Greg Newsome being part of a trade package coming up. And then again, there's just some other players that they can finagle, some restructures to free up $1 million here, $2 million there. And the big one was Deshaun Watson that I talked about. They could restructure his contract for this season and save up almost $36 million in cap space. And that's exactly what they did today. So all those moves, say they get to that $68 million in cap, whatever, they will be around $45 million under the cap. Plenty of room to work, to sign free agents, to do the things they do. And you got to remember, I putting out on social media ideas. Do you guys want the Browns to try to trade for this player or that guy? Maybe, Andrew Berry is going to swing a trade for a wide receiver. Who knows? And a lot of people, the instant feedback is, well, how are they going to trade for a guy when they can't pay him? They don't trade for guys and then pay them with this year's money. They always pay guys like Jerry Jeudy. They didn't extend him for last year with 2024 money. No, they extended him with 2025 and $6 and $7. So that's how the Browns are working this. And then next year, they'll do the same thing. And the year after that. And like we talked to Jack Duffin from OBR, as long as the Browns implement this cap strategy year over year over year, in theory, it's going to just keep working the way it's working. And it's never really going to be an enormous problem. And here's an interesting tweet from Tom Pelissero. He says, the Browns have now paid out the vast majority of Deshaun Watson's 5-year, $230 million fully guaranteed contract. All that's left is a minimum salary this season and a $46 million salary in 2026. Deshaun Watson will get cut post June 1st next offseason in 2026. And remember, we don't know the final numbers of this stuff yet. I mean, I think you can we could go find the reports and see what they're estimating it to be, but there's going to be injury insurance, cap relief for Deshaun Watson from last year because he missed, it was over half the season again, and he's going to miss this entire season, most likely, to injury. So we're going to get extra cap relief on top of this $36 million that they just cleared up. We're going to get more cap relief this year from the injury insurance. And then next year, we're going to get even more. And they'll probably cut him. Well, they'll probably restructure his deal next year, if I understand this correctly. And if I don't, if somebody has more information, better, whatever, just drop it in the comments, let me know. But as I understand it from reading Jack Duffin, next year, they'll probably do the same thing in the offseason. They'll probably restructure his contract, spread it out over 2 more seasons, and then come June 1st, he's cut. Well, they'll probably post June 1 designate him like right now in March and say he's done, he's off the roster. That won't go into effect until June 2nd. Whatever, it's just bookkeeping information there. And then the Browns will just have dead cap hits for Deshaun Watson in 26 and 27. But that's it. He won't be here anymore. And like Tom Pelissero says, they've pretty much paid out the vast majority of it already. So we need to quit worrying about Deshaun Watson's contract hampering the team and crippling the team, and we can't do anything because of the contract, and we got to kick Nick Chubb to the curb because of Deshaun Watson's contract. Guys, we got plenty of money. We're going to have plenty of cap space that whatever team offers Nick Chubb a contract, we'll have the option, if we choose, to match it or to try to go over it a little bit to get Nick Chubb to come back to Cleveland. But again, we've talked about that situation. If a team gives Nick Chubb the sun, moon, and stars to come play for them, the Browns are probably going to say, okay, good for you, Nick. Go for it. Go get that money. It's just not going to be here with us. Analytically speaking, and you guys know my philosophy on aging running backs as well, especially aging injured running backs. It's a bad gamble. It's just not a smart money move. And I know as a fan, like you guys, we all want Nick Chubb back. And I'm hoping that's how it works out. I still think that's how it's going to work out. I think that he'll get offered a contract that the Browns feel comfortable matching and maybe even just bumping up a little bit to give him that little extra boost. Maybe they incentivize it a little better to get him back on the roster. So that is my, what is today, March 6th prediction for Nick Chubb. We'll see what happens next week, and we will definitely be keeping an eye on all of that news. This episode is sponsored by ButcherBox for Pets. Browns fans, it's about time the Dawgs offered you something for the real dogs in your life. Our furry friends aren't just pets, they're part of the family. And you wouldn't let yourself or your children eat strange meat from questionable sources, and your dog shouldn't either. Right now, head to butcherboxforpets.com/dogs or use promo code DAWGS, DAWGS, to get 20% off your entire order. At ButcherBox, they believe in real ingredients. Their pet foods have been developed and certified by a vet nutritionist to contain 0 artificial flavors or preservatives. You get protein-packed formula with over 50% of the recipe comprised of third-party certified humane ButcherBox meat, plus functional ingredients like pre- and postbiotics to support your dog's vitality and digestion. And ButcherBox even removes the guesswork for you. Their custom meal plans are perfectly portioned to fit your dog's nutritional needs based on 8 factors, including age, weight, and activity level. I know my home wouldn't be the same without Odie, our 100-pound golden who thinks he's a 10-pound lap dog, and it gives us peace of mind knowing that we're giving him quality food instead of that factory processed garbage from the store. And speaking of the store, no need to add dog food to the shopping list ever again. ButcherBox delivers their high-quality food right to your door on the right feeding schedule for your dog. And you can change, modify, or pause your plan at any time. So head to butcherboxforpets.com/dogs and use promo code DAWGS for 20% off your order. It's time for all of us dogs to give all of our dogs the nutrition they deserve.